All right, so if you are ready to move to a place where your backyard can look like this, you're going to want to follow me on a tour of Highlands Ranch, Colorado. This is right in the backyard of Highlands Ranch. It has so much to offer. It's why thousands and thousands of people decided to call it home. Let's go. I'm Tim Kampmann, realtor here in the Denver metro area, and today we are doing a tour of Highlands Ranch, Colorado. If you were thinking of a move out to Denver or any of its amazing suburbs, please hit me up at the information on the screen. I would love to help be your resource. I help people all over the metro area, whether that's Fort Collins way north of Denver to Colorado Springs south of Denver and everywhere in between. Make sure you hit me up, call, text, or email. All right, so when we're talking Highlands Ranch, Colorado, we are talking about the south end of Denver. We're about 12 miles south of downtown Denver, so easy access up into the entire metro area. But Highlands Ranch really has everything that you're going to need on a day-to-day basis, whether it's work, play, all things. Highlands Ranch really has it all. When you think of a typical suburbia and everything about the suburban lifestyle, Highlands Ranch is going to fit that to a T. So let's start off with economy and jobs, and where people actually work who live in Highlands Ranch. So since it's so large and diverse, and since it's so close to Denver, we're just 12 miles south of like the downtown Denver area. People who live in Highlands Ranch actually work all over the metro area, whether that's the Denver Tech Center, where there's a lot of corporate jobs and jobs in finance and banking, or we have the Charles Schwab headquarters that's just on the east end of Highlands Ranch. It's kind of in Lone Tree, but it's really a hop, skip, and a jump from Highlands Ranch. Or people work at Lockheed Martin in the space program, and different engineers from around the country end up moving here and choose usually Highlands Ranch or Castle Rock as a place to live. So definitely a ton of different job opportunities, a ton of good paying jobs, but you also have just our government workers, cops, firefighters, nurses. There's a lot of people in the medical field with the hospitals and all the different medical offices that are going in Highlands Ranch that choose to live there. So there's definitely a wide variety of options when it comes to where you want to work. Now, the good thing is with all those high-paying jobs, you are going to need it because Highlands Ranch is kind of an expensive place to live. When you look at the national rankings, it's about 40% higher cost of living than most places around the country. And reason for that is because housing is a lot more expensive in this area. You're talking usually 34% higher than the national average. But you get all this. I don't know if you guys can hear that. You got some prairie dogs yapping at me. I'm invading their space. But that's the reason people really love living in Highlands Ranch and why home prices have gone up a lot. It's a very solid, stable community as far as real estate prices go. They have increased steadily, somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 8% year over year. So buying there is definitely a safe investment because it's centrally located. You got a lot of good job opportunities, etc. So if you're going to make an investment in some place to live, those are the things you want to look for. Do you have a diverse economy where you're going to have a lot of different variety of jobs so that you're not all tied to one thing, let's say the auto industry or energy. You have a wide variety, so when a recession does hit, it doesn't hit as hard in those areas because you have a lot of diversity. So home prices and what can you get for your money here in Highlands Ranch. A lot of these starter homes are going to be in that range of $450 to $550, and I'll be honest, these aren't going to be the greatest homes. These are going to be small, maybe 2-bedroom, 1,300 square feet, very small yard, but it is a starter home. So if the area is most important to you and you're kind of tight on the budget, there are options for that, or you can get a townhome or a condominium. And those are starting at the low end, $300. More than likely, you'll probably be spending about $400,000 for a townhome or a condominium in Highlands Ranch. But since Highlands Ranch is so dedicated to, family living and kind of family oriented. There's not going to be a ton of condominiums and townhomes like you'll see in some of the other cities like Littleton and Denver especially. You're going to find that most of Highlands Ranch is actually single family homes. Now if you're looking for the step-up home, kind of the median home price is going to be between $600,000 and $800,000. Now these are going to be very nice homes. A lot of them have been updated. Most of Highlands Ranch was developed in the 90s and early 2000s, but a lot of those homes have been renovated since then and have a little bit more of a modern flair and updated touches to them. Unlike Denver and some parts of Aurora and some parts of Littleton and Centennial, where a lot of the homes were built in the 50s and 60s, and they may have been updated once, but they still have finishes from the 90s or early 2000s. A lot of Highlands Ranch is going to be a lot more updated than that, so that's definitely a plus and kind of also warrants that higher price point. All right, guys, let's go take a look around Highlands Ranch. Okay, just before I was driving away, I saw these buffalo come right up to the fence line, so we're going to go take a look at those guys. Okay, so if you're wondering how close Daniels Park is to Highlands Ranch, it's literally in the backyard. Right behind me, about 100 yards, there's houses of their first neighborhood, and from where we were, right up that road, you could actually walk into Daniels Park from this neighborhood. So really close, really cool place to explore, really cool place to do hiking and biking, and it's another favorite spot of people to take family photos. So it's just so picturesque with the mountains in the back range. You can see all the way from Pikes Peak to Longs Peak across the entire Front Range. So definitely a place to check out when you're exploring Highlands Ranch. So here we are, guys, at one of the many parks in Highlands Ranch. As you can see behind me, we got playground, we got soccer field, we got a baseball diamond, we got our rec center out there in the distance. So tons of things for families to do. If your kids are into sports and stuff, there's going to be tournaments nearby. There's going to be soccer fields, flag football, real football. And another reason people love living in Highlands Ranch so much is for the highly rated school districts. We got some of the best schools in the entire metro area. Douglas County schools are some of the highest ranked throughout Denver, so definitely in good hands there. And you also have Valor Christian School here, which is a faith-based school, private institution, but has a really good reputation for having high-level sports and high-level academics. So if your kids wanting to go to a place where they're going to be recognized and get college scholarships and maybe a pathway to professional sports someday, that could be a great option for them too. Guys, that was the Valor and Cherry Creek Community Church, one of the largest churches here in the South Denver metro area as well, which you could probably see just from that quick drive-by. That's a massive school and very popular. Like I said, their athletic department is just insane. It's almost like a small college, for real. All right. Something for the road trip here. Not even thirsty or tired, just anxiety's not high enough yet. See if we can fix that. Also, this tipping culture has gotten so out of control. I mean, in through the drive-thru, ordering black coffee, which they spilled on the outside of the cup, and still asking for a tip. I don't know about you guys, but my rule is if I have to stand up while I'm ordering, I don't think that warrants a tip. I know I'm sitting down in the car, but that's besides the point. Okay, so I know I had mentioned that a lot of the homes in Highlands Ranch are going to be very similar in style. A lot of cookie cutter. You're not going to find a lot of variation. This neighborhood right here is probably as unique as you'll find in Highlands Ranch. Not a lot of differentiation across the board. So as you guys probably noticed, a lot of Highlands Ranch is a lot of single-family homes, a lot of suburban neighborhoods. But we do have a few townhome styles in this neighborhood. We are just on the back side of what's called Town Center, and it's a really cool place, kind of central Highlands Ranch, where they have basically it's an old-style town square, I guess you might call it, where they got festivals in the summer, farmers markets set up and different things, and then like special things for holidays like pictures with Santa, or do 4th of July, a little parade and things. But they got these little parks also that you can come and hang out in, take the dogs out for a walk. But a lot of these townhomes are going to start at $500 at the low end for one of the smaller units, but they do have a nice look to them, a lot of New York City style brownstone. But a lot of these are going to start at $500 and then go up from there, and some of the higher end ones are going to end up right in that $650 range. These townhomes are like what a suburban guy thinks is urban living, like me. Yeah, I think I'd like to live in a townhome with zero maintenance, but got a smash burger down the street. So even with these townhomes, even though it's a little more close quarters living, you're not really got any type of urban flair to it. There are some condos nearby that, like I said, will start in the 300 range for small units, but for the most part, you're probably looking 400 plus in most areas of Highlands Ranch to get moved in. So a con of Highlands Ranch that some people have mentioned it is very car dependent. It's not very walkable, even though there's a ton of like parks, trails, and places to mountain bike and scooter. You are pretty car dependent for most things, whether that's grocery store or unless you live by town center and want to walk to one of the restaurants or something. Very car dependent. There's not a lot of public transportation down here. There is some. The area that we were just at does have an RTD little hub there where you can park and ride if you're headed up into Denver or Littleton or whatever for work. But plan on having a car. Really, for most areas of Colorado, it's a good idea to plan on having a car. We're not a metropolitan area that has a robust public transportation system, but Highlands Ranch specifically is not going to have a ton of public transportation options available. Another con, if you are totally anti-HOA, where you're like, nope, I'm never living in an area with an HOA, Highlands Ranch is probably not for you. They do have an HOA for every part of Highlands Ranch. It is part of the Highlands Ranch Association that gives you access to those rec centers and some of the other trails and amenities, and some of the neighborhoods will have 2 HOAs. So you may have the one that's tied to like the rec center and all your amenities and stuff, but you also may have a second HOA that's specific to your neighborhood. Now personally, listen, I despise a lot of HOAs. I hate my HOA that I live in. They drive in this little car and take pictures of you and then send out emails of like, hey, don't bother the people that are just doing community maintenance. I'm like, well, why don't you leave me alone about the 3 weeds growing in my rock bed, or hey, that one bush is struggling this year. I'm sorry, it needs more water. Calm down. But they do serve a purpose. I am grateful that we have an HOA that doesn't that keeps some of the riffraff to a minimum, where you don't have someone running an auto shop out of their front yard and have 4 cars parked on the street that are all leaking oil. So it does serve a purpose, but to each his own. You have to decide if you're okay with an HOA or not. Okay, quick recap here, guys. So Highlands Ranch, a lot of pros to it. You got great open space, tons of trails all the way around. You got surrounded by open space, so there's always something outdoor activity wise to do. Very safe, family friendly neighborhood and community. You got great schools here, so if you're planning on moving here with your family and kids, and schools is very important, this can be a great option for you. Some cons to Highlands Ranch is a little bit higher price point than you'll find in some of the other areas around Denver. A lot of uniformity and conformity, so if you're looking for something with a lot of charm and character, like a turn of the century house, you ain't gonna find that here in Highlands Ranch. There is HOAs everywhere, which has its pluses and minuses. It is a pro to have someone watching out to make sure that the neighborhood values are still increasing and going up. But I know for some people, an HOA is just a deal breaker and it's not going to work out. So you always have to consider that. If you don't like some of the houses that we toured here in the Highlands Ranch area or some of those communities, that's why you got to reach out, because I know of a ton of different communities, whether that be Lakewood or Littleton or Centennial, where we can find something that matches what you are looking for just perfectly. Another benefit is those rec centers. That is a great benefit for families to be able to have something to do that's already included, so you don't have to pay extra money to find activities to do, and you got everything you need right here, from all your shopping and activities for the kids. Everything is really local to Highlands Ranch, but you're also just a short drive into Denver, whether you want to see the Broncos play, the Nuggets play, or the Avalanche and catch a hockey game in the winter. So ton of different options available for you. Make sure you hit me up at the information. Leave a comment if you live in Highlands Ranch and there's anything I missed as a pro or a con. Maybe you're like, hey, I've lived in Highlands Ranch for 20 years and this is what I love or I hate about it. I would love to hear from you as well. So like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.